Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today again for another video. After quite a long break again, I know, I am really sorry. I am trying to be more consistent in my uploads, but sometimes, life just happens and that's how it is and that's fine. But I will definitely try to be more consistent again in the future with my uploads here. Nevertheless, thank you so much for your patience. So today we're gonna be talking about a case which has happened very recently. And I'm talking this recently, like today, while I am recording this video. It's April 24 of 2023. And the case just happened as recently as last month, in March of 2023. And it feels again like we're in a deja vu here, because this kind of situations, I feel like they are just happening so often recently. Like in the last couple of years, we heard it so much. We heard the same story over and over and over again. And it's really devastating. Like it's like it will never change, I feel, because these cases just keep on repeating. You know what I'm talking about, like we see on social media, we see a perfect family, we see a loving husband, very successful in his job, we have a loving mother, beautiful children, everyone is smiling in the pictures, everyone is they seem to be living their best life. But what goes on behind closed doors, we just never know. And these are the cases that really prove us that you never know what goes on behind closed doors. You never know what goes on behind the pictures, and you really just cannot judge a book by its cover. Today we're going to be talking about the tragic death of Angela Craig, who, and we still have to say at this point allegedly, was poisoned by her own husband, the dentist Dr. James Craig. So just imagine, you're waking up on a regular morning, you just came back from a short vacation on the day prior, and you feel a little lazy, you feel a little tired, but you have this workout schedule where you just stick to and you don't want to skip your workout. So your loving husband appears and he is making you a protein shake. He appears to you as caring, loving, just wants to help you, just wants to push you to go through with your workout. And he helps you with preparing the shake for you, just to boost your energy. After having the shake, after a while, you start feeling dizzy, you start feeling nauseous, you're feeling weak. You basically feel the exact opposite that you were supposed to feel while you were getting ready for your workout. Day goes by, your symptoms just stay the same or get even worse. You go to the hospital, you want to find out what is wrong with you. You just don't have any explanation to what have happened to you. And nobody in the hospital can help you. Nobody knows what is wrong with you. And this will stay like this for days. And less than 2 weeks later, you are dead. Angela Craig was born on April 15, 1979 in Dodge City, Kansas, as one of 10 children to their parents. We don't know that much about Angela's upbringing, about her childhood or anything, but everything seems to be pretty normal. She seems to be a happy child, and she seems to have enjoyed, of course, the company of all her siblings and the big family she was grown into. Angela was described as being energetic and intelligent with a great sense of humor. She loved all animals, even though she was allergic to most of them. And she had a passion for all things outdoors, fitness, as well as interior design. Along with her whole family, Angela was a member of the Latter-day Saints, which is also known as the Mormon Church. And she was, as her entire family was as well, very devoted to her faith. Out of all her 9 siblings, Angela had a particular very close relationship to her sister Toni, and they would also go on different vacations together. They would just spend a lot of time together, even once they were growing up. So even in their adult life, Angela would visit Tony frequently, who was living in Utah at the time, and they just remained very close. On December 18, 1999, Angela married her husband, Dr. James Craig, and the couple moved to an area near to Denver in Colorado. Angela and James would go on to have 6 children together, which were 5 daughters and 1 son. So James was working as a renowned dentist in Aurora, Colorado, and he was also having his own practice, and he was described by his employees as a great boss, as a great colleague, and just a fun person to be around with. And also by their surroundings in general, Angela and James were described as the perfect couple and just as a normal and happy family. But as we know, nothing is ever as it seems. So Angela was visiting her sister Tony, who lived in Utah, between 1st and 5th March of 2023. She returned home in the evening hours of March 5th. On March 6th, Angela went to the hospital for the first time, complaining of feeling weak and dizzy and just not quite well. She was released on the same day after doctors were not able to find any cause of her dizziness and just not being well in general. And Angela returned to the hospital on March 9, and this time she has only been released on March 14. But still, the doctors were not able to find out what was wrong with her. So Angela returned to the hospital again on March 15, where between 1 and 2 p.m. she reportedly suffered from a severe seizure, and the doctors noticed that she was suffering from a severe lack of oxygen in her body. On the same day, there were 2 people making their way to the hospital to see Angela, who were Ryan and Michelle Redfern. Ryan was James's friend of over 20 years, and he was also a business partner at James's dental practice. Now, Ryan had actually bought the dental practice back in 2021 and decided to partner with James after James had to declare bankruptcy in 2021. Now, the Redferns were actually both very good friends with the Craig family, and so it was just normal for them to come and offer their help and to look after what was happening with Angela, really, because until then nobody had a clue what was happening to her. So Michelle Redfern, Ryan's wife, actually was holding a degree in nursing, which is why she continued texting James about Angela's condition and wanted him to keep her updated about Angela's symptoms so that maybe she could help figure out what was wrong with her friend, since the doctors were not able to do so at all. Now, on March 15, once Angela admitted herself to the hospital for the 3rd time now, and her state rapidly declined, Michelle texted James asking if Angela is conscious, to which James simply responded no. He then shot another text to Michelle shortly after saying, quote, "She's not laughing at any of my jokes either, so you know it's really bad." Now, this was obviously kind of James's attempt to be joking, and of course, I understand everybody is dealing with this kind of situations differently. We can never judge a person on how they react to this kind of situations, but this already would, for me, raise the first red flag, because why would you make a joke if your wife is lying in the hospital unconscious and then you're just saying that? It just seems very, very off. So shortly after the text exchange, James also sent Michelle 2 pictures that show Angela lying in her hospital room surrounded by employees of the hospital, along with a text saying that Angela crashed. She should be mentally responsible by now, but she is not. And then the doctor said they are very, very worried. Now, while both Michelle and Ryan made their way to the hospital, but in 2 different cars, Ryan received a call from an office manager at the dental practice, and her name was Caitlin. Now, this call will later be very important for the investigation, because Caitlin, who was, as I said, the office manager at the dental practice, observed a couple of weird actions by her boss James, which made her think to believe that James actually poisoned his wife. Caitlin says that on the morning of March 6th, which was the day that Angela has been first admitted to the hospital, she knew that James made a protein shake for Angela since he has told her so in the practice, probably bragging about what kind of a great husband he is. And he just told Caitlin, hey, my wife was a bit tired, she was a bit sleepy from the day before, she was traveling, so I made her a protein shake so that she can go work out properly. Now, Caitlin also knew that the couple had some marital issues in the past, and they were even thinking about getting a divorce. Now, the most suspicious activity that Caitlin observed was that on the evening of March 16, while she was working late that day in the dental practice, James came into the practice, and he began using the computer in the exam room number 9. Now, this room was apparently located at the end of the corridor of the whole practice. So it was very strange that James would go there and actually use the computer in that room, even though he has a whole office. Like, it's his practice, he has a computer in his office, and he also has a laptop, which he would usually take home if he would have to do some more work at home. So Caitlin was suspicious of this. However, after some point, she left to go home while James was still sitting in the exam room number 9 using the computer. About 30 minutes after Caitlin left the practice for the day, she received a text from James saying that he is expecting a personal package to be delivered to the practice within the next days. And he was asking Caitlin to make sure to deliver the package to him personally, and that nobody else should touch or even open the package. Now, the said package eventually arrived on March 13, and before Caitlin was actually able to get her hands on the package, she saw that the package has already been opened, probably by mistake by another employee. Now, since she received the instructions from James to explicitly do not open the package, she made an attempt to just seal it up again, so it looked like nothing ever happened. And while she was doing this, she actually discovered a biohazard sticker with the words potassium cyanide on the package. So Caitlin thought at first this potassium cyanide was maybe just delivered to the practice for some dental surgery or for some new treatments that she hasn't heard of so far. However, she got suspicious as she had never seen this substance in the practice ever before. And I really have to say that this office manager, Caitlin, she's one of the biggest heroes of this story, because she did something. She saw something suspicious and she said something. So she should really be a role model on how to handle situations like this, because without her, this case would probably be way much unclear by now than it actually is. So Caitlin shortly started researching her way into the matter. She wanted to know what this potassium cyanide was used for, and while she was reading about some side effects that potassium cyanide can have, she discovered that the mentioned side effects actually matched with what Angela was experiencing in the hospital at the same time. So these symptoms were, for example, nausea, low blood pressure and vomiting, and oftentimes death. Now, since all of this made Caitlin be extremely suspicious of James, Caitlin directly told her basically direct boss, Jacqueline, who was the head office manager in the practice, about her suspicions, about what she has read, about what she has found. And it was actually Jacqueline who made the call to Ryan Redfern, who was just on his way to the hospital on March 15. Once Ryan and Michelle arrived to the hospital on March 15, both of them briefly spoke to James, and following that, Ryan pulled one of the nurses to the side and told her that they are suspecting Angela might be suffering from being poisoned with potassium cyanide, and the person who had done this might be her husband, James. Now, thankfully, the hospital staff immediately took took these accusations seriously and directly informed the police, making the homicide unit arriving at the hospital at 12:30 a.m. in the very early morning hours on March 16, starting their investigation. Now at first, of course, they did not have any necessary grounds to arrest James directly, but James soon got to know that it was actually his friend Ryan who raised the suspicion to the hospital staff, which made the police getting involved. So James made up some stories. He told Ryan that Angela was suicidal and had already made multiple attempts to take her own life. In fact, he even said that Angela was the one wanting to order the potassium cyanide, but she did not have the possibility to do so because she was not having a medical license. James, however, who does have a medical license, has the ways to order potassium cyanide, so he did it for her as a favor, thinking that she would never go through with it anyways. During the same time, while the investigation against James slowly unfolded in the hospital, Angela's state sadly declined further and she was being put on life support. While Angela was still on life support, her children were all being called to the hospital in order to start saying their goodbyes to their mother. And after these truly devastating moments for all the children, they went home with their father. But they found their house already sealed and searched by the police, so that they were not able to spend the night at their house, and they went over to a friend's place, to a family friend's place where they could stay for the night. Now, in the morning hours of March 16, James called Ryan multiple times, and he was trying to convince his friend Ryan not to talk to the police because everything was just a big misunderstanding and the accusations would only harm his family at this point. James called Ryan's actions as reckless and destructive. Now, also in the morning of March 16, Aurora police issued 3 search warrants, which was one for James's house, one for the dental practice, and one for the friend's house where James and the children were currently staying. So we are currently still in the morning hours of March 16, and this is when the police also gained access to Angela's and James's cell phones. And while they were looking for any clues in the cell phones, they discovered some text messages exchanged between Angela and James that raised further red flags. For example, texted Angela James on March 1st, "Your healing and happiness, this marriage, is more important than my day. You are more important than my day." So we're not completely sure to what exactly Angela is referring here, but it was clear from some other sources that the couple definitely had some issues in their marriage in the past. They were thinking about getting a divorce. So I see an attempt here of Angela to kind of calm things down. Possibly there has been an argument or something shortly before, and she was just basically stating how important James was to her. Probably James was just asking about how's your day going, because she was currently on her small vacation in Utah with her sister, and Angela responded that James and the marriage is way more important than her day. Now James replied to Angela's text and he is saying he would like to keep last night's conversation, of which we are not sure what the conversation was about, just between the two of them, and not to explicitly involve Angela's sister Toni in it. James said, "It was hard for me to even tell you that stuff. I'm definitely not ready for anybody else to hear it." Afterwards, Angela responded to James's text that she agrees she would not involve her sister Toni in that. Now on March 6 at 6:59 a.m., James, who was already off to work on that day, texted Angela the following: "Thank you so much for making my drink this morning. I just love you. I hope you have a great day, and I'm so glad that you are back in town." So obviously March 6th was actually the first day that Angela returned from her vacation, and this is why James said he was glad to have her back. And Angela responded to James's text with the following: "You're welcome, baby. I love you too. I think my body is not letting the caffeine this morning either. My stomach feels fine, but my head feels funny and dizzy. Very funny." James responded, "It's been a week since caffeine for you. Maybe your body is saying no thank you. I did a full big scoop of the B vitamins. Is that how much you usually take? I'm super shaky." So from this conversation, we can kind of assume that Angela made James his protein shake in the morning and James made Angela's protein shake in the morning. This is what I understand from the exchange. So after Angela complained for the first time about feeling dizzy, the conversation between the two of them goes on, and Angela mentioned numerous times to her husband that she continued to feel worse, she felt weak, and James is at the point playing the thoughtful husband, and he's asking if Angela ate anything or if she needed him to come home from work. Does she need any support or is she fine by herself? When James asked her if she was actually feeling nauseous, she replied, "No, I feel drugged." And what James replies next is like one of the most significant text messages in this whole case, I believe. So James said, "Given our history, I know this must be triggering. Just for the record, I did not drug you. I am super worried though. You really looked pale, even before I left, like even in your lips." So apparently, 5 years before this whole situation happened, James actually attempted to poison Angela once before. And this was to the point where Angela actually passed out. Now, James said that the reason why he was drugging her 5 years ago was because he was planning to take his own life and he did not want Angela to stop him from doing so. Now, I am not sure what happened in the end, because clearly James is still alive and also Angela is still married to him. But nevertheless, this is what he claimed happened 5 years ago. Now afterwards, James continued to ask Angela about her symptoms. After about like 6 p.m. that day, he texted her that he was done working and would make his way home now. So as we know, Angela went to the hospital on the evening of March 6, but was released only a few hours later. So one day later, on March 7, when Angela continued feeling unwell, she texted James that she actually passed out in the kitchen for a moment, to which James responded, "Thank you for telling me, but that would have been a good moment to call 911. Following, Angela complained about having a strong headache and how she is planning to make an appointment with her doctor as soon as possible to see what happened to her. James, of course, continued playing the caring husband, and the whole day they are basically just going back and forth with their text, discussing Angela's symptoms and her state in general. On March 8, around 7:30 a.m., while James was already at work, he texted Angela the following: "Could you please let me know when you are up? I am worried if it's just you and the little ones." Angela responded that she is thinking about getting up now, and the conversation, just like the last days before, it goes on about Angela's symptoms and her state in general. At some point during the day, when Angela was not responding immediately to James's text messages, James said, "I'm going to trust that you are just sleeping and not dead somewhere." So on March 9, which was the day where Angela went back to the hospital for the second time, she texted James in the morning stating that she felt cold, super tired, weak, shaky, and dizzy. On March 10, while Angela was already in the hospital, Angela and James kept on texting about her state and about how James was doing during that time as well, and this went on like for the next couple of days. Now these text messages are already raising some red flags, but the most damning evidence comes to light when investigators were searching James's computers in the dental practice, especially the computer James used some days ago in the exam room number 9. So James had actually created himself a new email address, and they found this email address being logged in the computer on exam room 9. And they find some weird stuff on this email address, to be absolutely honest. So for example, on February 27, James used this email address to search for chemical suppliers in Aurora, the city where he was living. And he also made a number of different Google and YouTube searches, from which I will now quote some. Where can I buy arsenic? How many grams of arsenic can kill a human? Is arsenic detectable in an autopsy? The top 5 most dangerous chemicals on Earth. Top 5 undetectable poisons that show no signs of foul play. How to make poison. The top 10 deadliest plants that can kill you. So very sadly, Angela Craig was pronounced brain dead on March 18 at 4:29 p.m. and she was removed from life support. But now the question was, what was James's motive? If he did this, what was his motive? Why would he be poisoning his wife? Why would he murder his wife? Investigators quickly came to a possible reason why when they continued searching James's cell phone and James's computers. So Dr. James Craig in fact had an affair with another dentist, a woman from Texas. And really, the most disgusting thing I find in this whole case, which is horrible, but the most disgusting thing, Angela is lying in the hospital for a couple of days. And now investigators find flight itinerary on his computer, on James's computer. It is shown how he booked flights for his affair to fly from Texas to Colorado to spend time with him while his wife was lying in the hospital fighting for her life. And this is so disgusting to me. It just shows what an incredible, I don't even have the words what James is, to be honest. It's just disgusting, really. So James Craig has been officially arrested on March 19, one day after Angela passed away, and he has been booked into jail on charges on first-degree murder. James has already had a first appearance in court, which was later in March, and so far he has pleaded not guilty. So this case will definitely go to trial, and I will make sure to have an update video as soon as we have any further information. But really, let's see where this will go, because the evidence is damning. Like the Google searches, his affair, the way he acts while his wife is literally in the hospital, and given the history that he actually drugged her before 5 years ago, I don't know how he wants to make his defense, basically. I don't know, but we will see. And I don't know, I mean, what are your thoughts on this case? It's like, really, we see these situations, we see them so often, like especially in recent years, like Chris Watts and Anthony Toad, and I don't know, I have one question, to be honest. Like, why don't you just get a divorce? Like, I really wanna, if I would have one question I could ask all these people, like, why don't you just get a divorce? Okay, there might be like some inconvenience, there might be some like custody battle if there are kids involved or something, but in the end you can live your own life and you don't have to sit in prison. And I don't know, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I am really, really heartbroken for those 6 children. I mean, within a matter of 2 weeks, they lost their mother and their father. And I really hope that they will be able to recover from this one day. I know some of them, they are still very young. I think the youngest is 6 years old and the oldest one is 20 years old at this time. But it must be the same hell for all of them, I'm sure. And like, it makes me sick to my stomach. And I do hope that James will at least receive the right punishment for this. So yeah, we will see how it will go. And I'm sure you can see from my face, I'm really disgusted, and this is such a sad case. So with this being said, this is all from me today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Angela's story. Sadly, she did not make it out of this toxic marriage alive, and yeah, I just feel sorry for the family. She had a huge family, like not only the 6 children, but also her 9 siblings and the parents. So let's hope they will find their peace somewhere, somehow, someday. And once again, also, I'm really sorry I was a bit quiet here, but I promise I will be back soon with more videos.